There's Hermione. What's that she's holding? It's a note. In her handwriting. Here's what it says.
Hi, hello. It's time to talk about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for PC. Before we start this video, I want to put in a quick disclaimer that on this channel, we in fact do not, and I repeat, do not subscribe to any of the hateful rhetoric that J.K. Rowling has spouted towards the LGBTQI community, and that for the sake of this video, we are focusing on the game developers who probably don't know J.K. Rowling personally and all the hard work they've put into this game. Right, with that said, let's go. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for PC was released in November 2002 alongside the film with the same title. And let's be real, just starting off, this is the best game of them all. Just like its predecessor, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets starts with an introduction that is narrated, although this time it is not over stills, instead it is over an animation. This is also the only moment in the entire game that we witness this terrifying version of Dobby just before Harry narrowly escapes Privet Drive with the help of the Weasleys. Later we meet Lockhart in Flourish and Blots, and importantly there's a scene where Lucius Malfoy quite literally gives Ginny Weasley the diary. Of course, eventually the boys nick the Blue Anglia to make their way to Hogwarts because they missed the train, and this is where we are being dropped into our very first level. This introductory level is all about fighting off the Whomping Willow and rescuing Ron, and introduces you to the game mechanics. A lot of the graphics, mechanics, and part of the castle are recycled from the earlier game, but have been updated to work much smoother. We also already have 3 spells in our arsenal that we've learned from before, namely Flipendo, with which we can push over things, Alohomora, which unlocks secrets and walls and paintings and stuff, and lastly Loomis, which can be cast on large gargoyles to reveal hidden objects or areas. Other game mechanics that return are collecting beans, finding secret areas, which this is the part that I'm obsessed with and I'll address lots of it later, and lastly finding witches and wizard cards. However, these wizard cards have received an update and are now being split into bronze, silver and gold wizard cards. For every 10 bronze cards collected you upgrade your health, and for every 10 silver cards collected you actually obtain a key, which is later used to unlock the room to find all the gold wizard cards. Some of my favourite wizard cards include Hesper Starkey, because she's iconic and it's the first card that you find. Saccharissa Tugwood, not only because she also features a return in Hogwarts Legacy as a student. Curly Duke, Rowena Ravenclaw, the Druid Cleaner, because look at her. And lastly, Cersei, because she's the enchantress that turns maroon seamen into pigs, and well, after Harry and Ron safely arrive at Hogwarts and get their first night of sleep, they are then thrown into their first spell challenge, in this case for Rictus Sempra, set by crusty dusty Gilderoy Lockhart. In these spell challenges you collect challenge stars to eventually collect the completion star. Rictus Sempra is a tickling spell that in the challenge is used on spiky snails and crabs shouting fire from their assholes, and later comes in handy when fighting Cornish pixies, spiders or tickling Hagrid's pigs. This challenge also introduces you to gnomes, which you can stun with Flipendo and then throw back into their hole. Overall, I think Rictus Sempra is a pretty good introductory challenge that is not too difficult and yet quite creative with the small number of spells that you have at this point. It has a good number of secret areas, my favourite one being the one where you drop yourself into a pit of fire-shouting crabs to reveal a Lockhart portrait behind which there is a secret area. After you've completed your first challenge, you're then taken to the house point ceremony by a seemingly random girl, or is this Lavender Brown before, the whole. Anyway, if you're in the lead when it comes to House Point, you get to enter the bonus bean room where you can collect as many beans as you want. This is honestly pretty shit the first time because a lot of it is locked behind spells you don't know yet, but it gets better and better the more spells you learn throughout the game. Next up, it's time for Quidditch, which in this game consists of waiting for a bar to fill up while simultaneously trying to kick the other seeker off of their broom until they temporarily fall unconscious. But hey, at least we can say that this game features Quidditch at all. We move into potions class with our friend Severus Snape, where we learn to make Wiggenweld potion made out of Wiggenbark tree and Flubberworm mucus. Those two can be found all over Hogwarts, and this potion fills up your health if you are a bit low. So we've arrived at the point in the story where Mrs. Norris has been petrified and the entire school starts to speculate who the heir of Slytherin is. This is then also when we start to go to Charms class, where obviously Hermione asks Professor Flitwick about the Chamber of Secrets. However, Professor Flitwick obviously does not have time for this, and we're here to learn the next spell, Scourge. Scourge is used to dispel ectoplasm left behind on walls, ceilings and floors by ghosts, which I think is a fun idea, and I have to say overall the mood of this challenge is very good. It's like very gloomy and dreary. But I do think this is the weakest challenge of them all, and I'll tell you why. I think it's because the lack of versatility that the spell offers. We do also meet Peeves for the first time in this challenge, which I think for a lot of people is a favourite character from the games that does not appear in the films. And him too you have to fight off using Scourge. The secrets in this challenge are alright, but not the hardest, and if I'd have to pick a favourite, I'll probably pick the one that's hidden behind an unmarked wall. After the Scourge challenge, the gang gets together and they start thinking up that Draco Malfoy might be the heir of Slytherin. This means that it's time for Polyjuice Potion brewing and that we are becoming Girl Boss Hermione's errand boy to retrieve the remaining ingredients. I think this is where the game really starts to shine because these are levels that kind of go beyond the scope of the book and stuff. First off, Harry needs to find a bicorn horn, which of course is hidden in the secret stash of Severus Snape. But it's not just a matter of like entering this room and nicking it. No, you have to go through an entire level full of basements, full of ectoplasm, which I just think it's such a hilarious idea that Snape has this elaborate dungeon filled with ectoplasm, just protecting his stash. I think my very favourite part of the game might be in this level, which is this maze that you need to solve from up top, and that has a couple secrets hidden into it because we all know I love secrets. I just remember as a kid being so proud that I found the way to do this in only 2 trips down to the maze because like, smart. There's a good amount of secrets in this level, and obviously my favourite secrets are the ones that are found in the maze. And then it's time for Crusty Dusty Gilderoy Lockhart's Dueling Club. You duel fellow students in differing arenas using Rictus Sempra, Mumble Wumble, and Expelliarmus. And after your initial duel against Malfoy, you're free to play as many duels as you want, and you can literally just become a bean mogul with this because it works the way that you put in 200 beans, for example, and then if you win, you get double the amount back. So really easy way to get a lot of beans. Honestly though, this game mechanic is a little bit broken because you can basically pull a classic Harry here and just use Expelliarmus the whole way through, wait for them to cast Rictus Sempra, counter it, and just beat them that way. It's fun though for a bit. I actually quite enjoy this part. After we leave the dueling club, where of course we found out that Harry can talk to snakes and now everyone thinks he's the heir to Gryffindor, we get this amazing voice acting line from Hermione.
Because being able to talk to snakes was what Salazar Slytherin was famous for.
It just cracks me up every single time that this is supposed to be Hermione. Shortly after, it's time for the 3rd spell challenge, in this case Diffindo, set for you by Professor Sprout. I have to say, I'm quite a fan of this challenge, and I have to give it to the developer team that this is probably one of the most versatile spells out there. It works on vines, ropes, mushrooms, which honestly, maybe you shouldn't use it on because the gnomes enjoy them a little bit too much. Bowtruckles, prickly plants, spider webs, and lots more. The overall vibes of this challenge are pretty great. It has beautiful outdoor areas and more mysterious and dimly lit indoor areas. It has lots of secrets, probably my favorite being this one big room where there's both a star and a wizard card. So now that we've got Diffindo in our arsenal, it's time to run errand number 2 for Girl Boss Hermione, which is to find Boomslang skin yet again in Snape's stash. This level is alright. It's short, doesn't have a lot of secrets, which obviously downside, but it does introduce us to acromantulas, which in a school? Anyway, when you're out back on your way to deliver the Boomslang skin to Hermione, we run into nearly headless Nick, having been petrified. And of course, this is the point where McGonagall catches you and you have to go to see Professor Dumbledore. And everyone, you are not ready for this. This is the level. This is ultimate stuff. For the longest time, I didn't even know that this was something more than just a cutscene. Whatever you do, do not walk up to Fawkes straight away because this will trigger the cutscene. Instead, have a look around, listen to the amazing atmospherical music, and then in the back, find your bronze wizard card and find the additional secret. Now, officially, this is not its own level. It's actually part of the Grand Staircase, which automatically makes this the best secret you can find in the Grand Staircase. Also because this is one of the few where you can never return to go and find it again. Anyway, when you're ready, you can walk up to Fawkes to start the cutscene, and this is your little chat with Dumbledore talking about what just happened. After he excuses you, Ron comes to find you to say that Hermione needs you, and then he yeets himself off the balcony a floor down, which I just love game mechanics like this, to take you to Hermione because she needs a piece of Goyle for the Apologist potion. Again, the fact that finding a piece of Goyle is a separate level in this game, brilliant. The level is pretty good. It has Diffindo vibes. It introduces you to this mega purple crab, which is fantastic. Has a bunch of secrets. My favorite one definitely being this one where you have to drop down the chest to find the Silver Wizard card, which is Cersei, obviously. And once you've retrieved your little piece of Goyle, it's time to go back to the girls' lavatory. They mix up the last bit of the Polyjuice potion and Harry turns into Goyle. And this is where the voice actor went all out.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Harry is off to the Slytherin common room, triggering the next level, and this level is fun. Imagine this is your route to go to bed, and then not only that, when you enter and there's this like bridge, there's a guy in front of you who's like, haha, good luck, Goyle, and then destroys the bridge. So you have to fix a bridge to get into your common room. Brilliant. Also, very good secrets throughout this level. We actually have a rare triple Loomis, which unveils 3 different areas. But those are not my favorite. My favorite is actually in the common room itself. There's a secret passageway that you can later use, because at some point you then walk up to Draco and you start talking. And we all know this from the films and the books, that the Polyjuice potion starts to kind of stop working, basically. And same happens in this game, and you have to run out of the common room without being caught. And actually using this passageway lets you skip a bunch of people and get out faster. Now that the gang has found out that Draco Malfoy is not really the heir to Slytherin, it's time for their last spell challenge. Again set by Crusty Dusty Lockhart, and it's Spongify. Spongify is unadulterated fun. Spells mechanics just allow for such creative and dynamic level design, and the music in this level is brilliant and totally adds to all the weird whimsy. Also, this level has 16 secrets, some of which are truly unhinged, including a random painting up here that you need to flipendo, casting Alohomora on a flying owl, and then lastly, the one that truly breaks that rule of that your player base should know the mechanics available to you. In this case, you literally have to walk through a painting to find a secret. Obviously, it's my favorite because it's the weirdest one of all, but like, what? After this challenge, we're starting to narrow in on the climax of this game, and it starts with that Moaning Myrtle is now pretty upset that Ginevra Weasley has literally thrown a book through her face. This is where Harry learns about the diary, falls into Tom Riddle's memories, and finally learns that Hagrid once possessed a giant spider and was therefore expelled because they thought he had previously opened the Chamber of Secrets 50 years ago. Ron and Harry think it's time to have a chat with Hagrid, but once they get to his hut, they see that Lucius Malfoy is now sending Hagrid to Azkaban and also sacking Dumbledore as headmaster of the school. This all means, of course, that it's now time to follow the spiders and you enter the Forbidden Forest level. This level is good. It has the darkness and grittiness that it needs, and it's pretty creative. It has too few secrets, let's get that out there, but the ones that are in this level are pretty top tier secrets, including the one where you actually have to free a bunch of spiders and then Rictus Emperor them to open a secret area. At the end of this level, you obviously fight Aragog with a combination of Rictus Emperor and Diffindo, being the first kind of boss fight of this game. Upon returning to Hogwarts, Ron and Harry learn that Hermione has been petrified now and Ginny has been taken to the Chamber of Secrets, which means it's time for the final levels of this game. After talking to Moaning Myrtle, who, is she German in this game?
Because Olive Hornby had teased me about my glasses.
Harry finds the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets and decides to descend into the pits of Hogwarts together with Ron and Lockhart. Obviously, Lockhart does his little performance, casts his spell with Ron's wand, and the ceiling collapses, leaving Harry alone to finish the job. The final level is naturally quite dark and daunting. In my opinion, there are too few secrets, and there's actually a bug in the game which really ticked me off as a kid because one of the secrets does not register, and I'm a completionist gamer, and I could just not find the secret for the life of it, and it Eventually we get to the final battle against the Basilisk, which I know this is a fault of the books and movies and the game is just doing what they were doing, but it feels kind of anticlimactic that you're not using your spells and instead using sort of Gryffindor. I think it would have been really cool if it could combine Rictus Emperor on the Basilisk with Falling Ectoplasm and Scourge, as well as Spongify to jump out of the way or something. that would have really like elevated it and made it magical. After you've beaten the snake, we quickly go back to Dumbledore's office, hear the beautiful music again, and get this deadpan read of a century.
Professor Lockhart, I'm afraid he's lost his memory.
Oh dear. What will he think about now that he can't think about himself?
And you'd think that at this point the game is over, but hold your horses, it is not. There's more to come. If you remember those wizard cards that I talked about earlier, this should be the point where you have collected all 40 silver ones. That means that you now have all 4 keys to open the door to the gold wizard card challenge. This challenge is pretty cool, it's timed, so it pushes you to be quick and nimble, and whenever you find a gold wizard card, it actually reveals a life-size version in a hallway next door. And if you thought that that was everything, you thought wrong again. There's actually a hidden level in this game that you can only enter through debug mode, which is the mode that developers use to test the game. This is a level in the Gryffindor Common Room, which was supposed to be included with the game, but wasn't finished in time. There's plenty of good tutorials on how to access these levels, so if you want to play them for yourself, I highly encourage you watch one of them. This extra level, though not very polished, is super fun and has some great music. Some parts of it actually also really remind me of the first Harry Potter game that came before this one. It also features a lot of secrets, some of which are very well hidden, my favourite being this one that's just Alohomora on a random wall that lets you get up to the rafters. And that's it. That really is it. All there's left to do is to join the house point ceremony at the end of the year and finish the game. This game is just an absolute classic for me, and I have so many good memories playing it with my friends, my babysitter, my younger brother, and I think like for a lot of people my age, Harry Potter was just an integral part of my life, and the games are a very huge part of that for me. With that said, I'm concluding this video and I hope to see you for the next one. Bye bye.